In the Heart of the Sea, a film in theaters near you on December 11th. We have the Academy Award-winning director of that film right here in the Rich Eisen Show studio, Ron Howard. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
How are you?
I'm well. It's good to be here. What a place.
Thank you.
You gotta. This is a place to hang, isn't it? Yeah.
Thank you. That's what we love to have people like yourself. If we're so fortunate to have people hang in here with us, you know, on a day that you come in. We're excited. Obviously, you saw our poll question, right, about your filmography.
I saw that there was going to be favorite films.
Yes, about
like
favorite
that?
films.
Yeah.
And these guys, like Chris Commenson, want to include Ed TV in that mix.
Were
you surprised at the
I was
inclusion?
a little bit surprised, although you know it was a crowd pleaser in its day, but it's not one of those that gets necessarily listed. It was way ahead of the curve. In fact, when I first started working on that idea,
sure,
I would pitch it to people and just sort of say, "What do you think?" And they said, "Are you crazy? Nobody would want to be on TV all the time like that. Nobody would let cameras follow them around." So the whole concept was just so much on the vanguard, just beginning to happen.
So are you responsible for the Kardashians?
No.
If we had
I'm a mere observer of trends in that case.
Okay, so you are not the George Washington of
not the architect of the subgenre.
So let's talk about this film that you're doing right now, In the Heart of the Sea, in theaters right now. Many people might think it is the story of Moby Dick, but it is the story that inspired Herman Melville to write Moby Dick, about the Essex whaling ship of Nantucket that went out looking for oil and then had adversity hit, to say the least.
Well, this was the energy industry at that time. This is how cities were being lit.
Sure.
And you had to hunt and kill and process these whales. These whale ships were, they were cutting-edge technology of their time, but what was driving them was not some sort of romantic sense of adventure. This is how they made a living. This is how the companies survived, and they went out there with all the sort of the greed and ambition and sort of that masculine sense of just taking over, dominating your world, and they were confronted with this this force of nature in the form of this whale, and it transformed some it didn't. Interesting to see that play out. So the movie, I think, works on a couple levels. It has that action. It's fun to watch. It was fun to direct. And it also has really interesting and I think kind of contemporary themes and ideas sort of mixed in as well.
Yeah, and Chris Hemsworth is in it. And you obviously have already done a movie with him with Rush, which a lot of fans of this show, I'm sure, got to see with being about the sport of racing. Did you think of Chris for this role?
He actually brought it to me. He actually brought it to me. He knew about this script. It's a script that had been around for 10 or 12 years, and it's difficult to have it come together because of the logistical challenges. And I think needing the right person to be in the lead of the movie, this Owen Chase character. When I read the real events, read about the real Owen Chase, who was taller than everybody, charismatic, unbelievably, gifted, athletic, would go, up aloft, no problem. Just that's kind of a swashbuckling man of his time. I thought Chris was perfect for the part.
Rich Eisen Show has Ron Howard right here in the studio. So, this film, what do you think speaks to the reason why you did it? Why would you choose a film where the star is obviously Chris Hemsworth, but this monster beast that you would have to create and bring to life?
Something original for audiences. Something fresh, surprising, intense kind of story, and it's an adventure. It's PG-13, so it's appropriate to bring the family, and everybody seems to get something different out of the movie when they see it, whether they know the story, whether they're completely surprised, about it, and again, it's surprisingly relatable on a contemporary level. So I just felt like it entertained, it sort of piques your curiosity in a lot of different ways.
What's your favorite sports movie?
Oh man, my favorite sports movie. Wow. I just loved Bull Durham. It's just so, Hoosiers is great, but Bull Durham is just so smart and funny. The characters are great, and I'm a baseball fan, and I think Ron Shelton, of course, was a minor league baseball player, and
yes.
I felt like that they were players.
Right, and just taking you inside the pitcher's mound where to talk about what are we getting somebody for their wedding. She get some candlesticks.
Yeah, I just loved everything about that movie and see it every so often.
So yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Hoosiers too, because that's mine. That's usually
it's
one
a great
that I throw
movie.
out there.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Hackman is fantastic in it, and I played high school basketball. You know, so again, that one touches me on a personal
Well, I
level.
always think about it whenever I see it almost all the time in sports today, Ron. There are moments that I see that harken back to Hoosiers. For instance, right now, say, for instance, in Philadelphia, Chip Kelly is using certain players after getting other players out of Philadelphia, and the crowd is howling about who he's putting on the floor, and he waves his scheme in his leather satchel at the crowd, saying, "That's my team on the floor." You see that all the time, you know, in sports.
Well, you know, I mean, look, sports is obviously it's dramatic, you know, and the original reality show.
Sure. Before EdTV.
Before the Kardashians.
That's right. You refuse to take responsibility.
But the, you know, the thing about sports that is so fantastic is that, you know, that it does, on game in, game out, you know, it creates these narratives. And if you think about it, they're kind of mythic, and you see these, you know, these dramatic turning points where coaches make big choices. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Players come back, or they succeed or fail. You know, the more you know about the players, which is what you guys do, is help us understand all this stuff of what's going on. The more dramatic and exciting it is, and so, you know, I'm always fascinated by the sort of the narrative drama in sports. And I don't think people realize that, sure, they love the spectacle, they love the action. It's awesome to see what these athletes can do. But there are these natural narratives going along. This a lot of storytelling that's just, you know, happening. And that's what the games are, you know, framed up to achieve.
So who is your team? I guess, which team would you say is the one you follow the most?
Well, my sports are kind of are Major League Baseball and the NBA, and I was raised in LA, so I'm a Dodger fan and a Laker fan. I live in the East. I've sort of adopted, you know, the Knicks and the Mets.
Okay.
My son Reed is a big Yankee fan because he grew up out there, and in that pocket, it was all Yankee
Plus,
fans.
your son must be brilliant. He must be a brilliant young
Well,
boy.
he's got, you know, you know, if you want winners.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you chose. It's interesting.
But it was pretty exciting for the Mets this year.
Sure. Well, no doubt. I know. Well, when the Mets played the Dodgers, though, what was that for you?
You know, I was in New York at the time, and so the excitement was, you know, so palpable.
Sure.
But of course, I was rooting for the Dodgers to get there. But I, you know, I wasn't miserable, and in that particular case, I kind of thought the best team won.
Who's the biggest sports nut you've ever worked with, or directed?
Wow,
or
biggest
acted with?
sports nut ever. Vince Vaughn really knows his stuff, loves it. Everything Chicago, Blackhawks, you know, Bulls, both Major League Baseball teams, follows it, reads it, talks it. Yeah, Vince.
Okay, part of me was hoping, like, you know, Tom Bosley or...
He was a big sports fan.
He was.
Really was. Also a Chicago guy.
Okay.
Well, Bears. He was.
Tom Bosley was all about the Bears.
All about the Bears. All about the Bears.
No kidding.
Yes.
Or like Andy Griffith. One day he came to set upset because he laid the points. Again, Norm Van Brocklin beat him at the end. No?
That one I can't give you. He did do a hilarious monologue. I don't know if you've ever heard it, called "What It Was Football," and it's what made him famous. And it was it was on the radio, and he played this kind of. He created this monologue, this country bumpkin guy who's never seen football, and he wanders into a high school football game, and actually, you know, I don't want to get... When he passed away a couple of years ago, I just decided to play it again, and it was still brilliant.
Well, I've got a few phone calls. People have lit up the phones wanting to talk to you.
Okay.
So if we can, let's take a break. We'll come back. I also have some sports movie ideas I want to pitch you.
Okay. Oh,
And see if this is something that you'd be interested in.
All right, but I just want to make sure I don't get sued if I wind up doing it 8 years from now, and you mentioned it now.
I will sign a waiver.
Okay, good, because it's a litigious world out there, man.
Or, you know, maybe you want to be in business. I've got some
That's
ideas
possible.
here.
That's possible.
I want to
It's a
just
brand.
leave you in a better spot.
Brand
Not like
combination could be, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We could form our own shingle. We can figure that out. But, you know, you've got your own thing. We'll be back with Ron Howard right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Take some of your phone calls and then maybe get a movie made. That's what we're going to try to do with the director of In the Heart of the Sea back in 60 Ticks the Clock.
It was
Describing it in this way that's really hilarious, and it's actually the thing that kind of got him, brought him to national
That's
prominence.
what brought Andy Griffith
I
to
mean,
national
now
prominence.
it's kind of the internet and who knows what, and then it was vaudeville, and then on up through into radio.
Yeah, there was no YouTube back in
No, there sure wasn't.
Andy
No.
Griffith's day. I have Ron Howard right here on the Rich Eisen Show in the Heart of the Sea in theaters on December 11th. Joining me here, I would love to take a couple phone calls for you from some fans. Chris in North Carolina, you're first up. You're on the Rich Eisen Show with Ron Howard. Chris?
Hey, Rich, and how you doing? Glad to be on the show. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for calling.
Ron, I have a question. How did growing up on the Andy Griffith Show, working with Andy Griffith and Don Knotts, how did that influence your career?
Almost entirely. It was such a great working environment, and so not only did I love the idea of being in the business from that point forward, but I also fell in love with every aspect of it: camera, understanding what the directors were doing, sound, of course, the writers. And Andy was so collaborative. He created this environment where that creative problem solving was just part of the everyday thing. So you look at that show and you think it's kind of easygoing and it must have been a walkthrough, but not at all. It was, he cared about the fans, and I was learning a lot of important fundamentals about, getting a story told in a way that audiences could respond to it.
Well, with you here, I got to take somebody from Oklahoma. I gotta
Oh,
take
yeah,
someone
sure,
from your home
sure.
state of Oklahoma. Adam in Tulsa, you're on the Rich Eisen Show with Ron Howard. Adam?
Rich, thank you so much for taking my call. Mr. Howard, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I had a question, two questions actually. One strictly about the filmmaking process and practical effects versus CGI. Old school Ray Harryhausen versus new school CGI. Obviously, with the beast that you created, the tool set continues to change for directors, and I like how you've adopted and adapted with the times over the course of the years that you've been doing what you do. My second question is, what do you feel like the industry is doing with media distribution, Netflix, things of that nature? I know Adam Sandler just recently signed a deal with Netflix to release directly to them. What are your thoughts on the way the film industry is going and things of that nature?
Well,
and I appreciate your call.
Sure.
You're taking my call.
My pleasure. The questions are kind of related. Technology is just changing everything, broadening everything. I couldn't have made In the Heart of the Sea without the technology that made me believe that we could create a whale that could inhabit the space so that the audience didn't have to suspend their disbelief. They could just be immersed in the movie, and feel what it might have been like there with that kind of intensity, and also to sort of explore the myth that was Moby Dick, but in this totally realistic way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's allowing directors to get closer to what's in their mind and get that on the screen in ways that are exciting, a little more cost-effective. It's remarkable. Of course, you still have to use it thoughtfully and carefully, and
Yep.
there's still plenty of reasons to go old school and use the tools that have been used for 100 years. Well, the same thing with getting stories out there. It's just there's more reach. You can be more specific in terms of how you connect with your audience, and that's exciting for storytellers and for fans.
Well, I mean, thank goodness for Netflix gave us more Arrested Development.
They sure did, and we were actually the first show that they sort of rebooted that way. They were their first series. It was a bit of a test run, and it was Ted Sarandos came to me and said, "We know our people really want more Arrested Development," and Mitch Hurwitz and Fox and Netflix, we all got together and we did it, and hopefully we're going to do it again.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Well, Mitch is writing. We don't have a green light on it yet, but mostly it's just the cast has gotten so incredibly busy that how do you ever get them together? And I think if Mitch does another set of episodes, he wants everybody to be in them more.
Well, because I know that's the way that you were able to do it,
Yeah.
is that you shot a scene with all of them together in the rare window you had them.
A day or two.
And then you got everyone else individually to shoot episodes.
I'm not sure when they're going to get released, but he's actually re-edited them. And it's the same storyline, but he used some outtakes and some other scenes that weren't included originally. And he's put them in so that everybody is in every episode. And so that may go to somewhere, Netflix, syndication or something.
That's terrific news. That's to say the least. George in Idaho, you're on the air on the Rich Eisen Show with Ron Howard. George?
Good morning, man. How are you?
What's going on? You're on with Ron.
Good. Nothing. Just I love your show, Rich.
Thank you.
I watch it religiously, and the other day I watched Ron on your cousin,
My cousin.
Mr. Patrick's show, and
Okay.
learned a lot of things from there. And the thing that it was interesting is one of my favorite movies and so forth is American Graffiti, and Ron talked about that evolving into Happy Days, and I thought that was very interesting. One thing with this new movie, I think this new movie is really interesting. I did a lot of research after listening to you talk about it the other day about the whaling and everything, and it was really interesting. But what I'm wondering is, have you ever thought about in the future about making a movie that's just pure, and I just mean pure from the standpoint of no CGI, and just doing something, old school?
Well, yes. I mean, I was forced to do that back with Backdraft. That was a time when I wish there would have been a little CGI fire, because it would get to be so dangerous. And of course, dramas like Frost Nixon, there's no CGI involved there. And I think there's, even the greatest CGI wizards will tell you that as much as you can get in camera is an asset. So, like real action, real movement, real interaction with water and fire and those kind of things. Well, that's not going to vanish away. A character like CGI Whale or the animals in Life of Pi or something like that. Well, that's where it's incredible. And so, it's always going to be a matter of, as your previous caller said, how you use the toolkit.
And it's remarkable how, and early on in your career, you have Michael Keaton, Tom Hanks in comedies, right? Night Shift and Splash. And now, Hanks is a two-time Academy Award winner. He is essentially the dramatic actor of his generation. Michael Keaton is in Spotlight right now.
Fantastic movie.
After last year, Birdman.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fun, these. It's been exciting to be part of a generation, and yet I also love getting to make Rush or In the Heart of the Sea and sort of look to a younger generation of actors, because it's very stimulating.
And American Graffiti's George Lucas.
George Lucas, that was, that was really something, and an amazing cast. And when he was making that movie, well, that was kind of cutting edge. And not so much in terms of technology, but just the sense of the aesthetic, the use of music, the approach to the staging was, kind of something brand new then.
I'm here with Ron Howard here on The Rich Eisen Show. I'd like to pitch you sports movie ideas.
Okay, let's go.
Again, these are yours. These are yours.
Okay.
I just verbally gave you the go-ahead. Okay. Here's the first Rich Eisen Show sports movie pitch for Ron Howard called Race of Mercy. Right there, you can see on the television screen.
Right, yeah.
And everybody can go to richeisenshow.com to see our movie posters.
Iditarod.
The 1925 Iditarod original story.
Yeah.
The teams of heroic square-jawed mushers raced fragile vials of diphtheria vaccine through a mega blizzard to Nome to save Inuit children hovering on the verge of death. Wait for it. John Goodman plays Alaska Governor Scott Bone. And CGI allows Ian McShane to play 2,000 villagers.
Well, you were running really hot there for a while, and then you kind of, I think you sort of fell off the cliff maybe with a couple of the casting ideas. But that's, it's just a pitch, right?
Okay.
The reality is, that story has been kicking around a little bit like In the Heart of the Sea. That is one of those stories that people know about. It's very challenging to make, and it's never quite gotten the green light. But just as the story of the Essex and the whale, that was around for 12 or 13 years. I've actually heard about this story and even read a script of it.
Let's go another one for Ron Howard. Here we go. We call it Balco. Moneyball meets The Insider as Major League Baseball, Congress, and America finally learns just how much juice it takes to power the national pastime. CGI takes us inside the body of Barry Bonds, where anabolic steroids inflate his deltoids while also shrinking other parts. Should we put
Sold.
Okay. Well, hold on a minute. I've got another one. Here's another one. We just call it this movie's called 10-15-65. In a Minneapolis hotel room on October 15th, 1965, Sandy Koufax must choose between his Jewish faith and starting Game 1 of the World Series. Looking back on the amazing career before a game that could define it, we get a Rashomon-esque look at the life experiences and contradictions that make up the most private of Dodger legends, and we have a shofar on the movie poster.
Sandy was my childhood idol, along with Maury Wills, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. Those are the guys.
Okay, so I'm hitting the
You're
the
hitting a
sweet spot here.
chord. You're definitely hitting a chord. Now, whether do you think that's a kind of a Sundance indie movie, or is that going wide to a theater near you?
No, I think it's black and white,
Right.
and it is in limited release, but then wider release after the buzz.
You're an esoteric dude.
But here's the problem: it's 8 hours long, and
In
you
real
can't
time.
eat during it.
In
You
real
can't
time.
eat during it. You must fast during the entirety of the film. Here's one last one for you, Ron.
Okay.
Black Knight. Like all A-list directors, you are now contractually obligated to make a movie with The Rock, with Dwayne Johnson. Okay? Brian's all for it. Your lawyers are just ironing out all the details, okay? So why not make a good one with Black Knight, the story of Miki Dora, surfing's first counterculture legend, who went from starring in Beach Blanket Bingo to a life on the run as an international fugitive with a taste for Zen and a talent for fraud.
Wow.
Catch Me If You Can meets The Endless Summer. CGI, none needed. You have The Rock.
You're on fire. I gotta say. I mean, my partner Brian Grazer is a surfer, you know, and so
Come on.
I'm pitching it the second I get off the phone.
You got to know your audience, right, Ron? You got to know your audience. Well, these are yours. These are yours.
Thank you.
You and
Thank
Brian.
you. Very gracious of you.
You bet. These are yours to keep. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled how great In the Heart of the Sea is. And
Thank you.
Good luck with all of that. Please come back.
Appreciate
Please
it.
come back to the
Thank
show.
you. They're fun.
You bet. No, the phone line's lit. You're a popular man. Our fans love you, and so do I. So thank you. Do you want to vote on the poll? Do we allow you to? Do you have?
Do I have a vote? No.
Well, you can. Let's vote on the poll. RichEisenshow.com before Ron Howard goes out the door. Go for it.
Wait, I'm supposed to
All right, what's your favorite Ron Howard movie? Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, Ed TV, or Gimme Back My Son, Ransom?
I'm going deep all the way to the beginning. Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
Off the board.
Fantastic. So you're responsible for that, too. There you go. We've got Ron Howard here on The Rich Eisen Show.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
for coming
Pleasure.
on, sir. You bet.
Thank
That's
you.
Ron
Thank you.
Howard.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.